A couple decided to leave one wedding present wrapped for years, and when they finally opened it, they were shocked.
But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to Happy World, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories.
For most people, love is a complicated thing. Maintaining a successful relationship and finding that perfect person isn't easy. The unknown can be somewhat thrilling, and sometimes the best part of life is not knowing what lies ahead. Meet Brandon and Kathy, a loving couple opening their gifts on their wedding day. As the couple graciously opened their presents, they also came face to face with their strange and beautiful pact. That pact was that they'll leave one gift wrapped and only open it at 10 years, and what they found in the gift left them stunned. Brandon and Kathy Gunn celebrated their love for each other back in 2007. The small yet elegant wedding ceremony took place amongst their loved ones in Michigan. The guest list was full of people that were close to both Kathy and Brandon. and there were a large number of people at the wedding. The couple had an amazing wedding, and they knew their life together would be just as incredible. Although like any happily married couple, there are ups and downs, they made a commitment to one another to fight through any problems and challenge each other. But the story is about that one particular present that challenged the happily married couple. It was on their wedding day that they decided not to open that one present, which to an outsider might seem like a strange choice. The couple was extremely competitive by nature. They motivated each other by reading the message that was attached to the gift. Being drawn to the unknown is the basic human psyche, so the self-control they exercised to not open it would have to be tremendous. But the decision to not open the gift was not pre-planned. It was just a spur-of-the-moment decision that made them wait a decade before opening that particular present. See, the gift they decided to hold off was given to the happy couple by Kathy's great-aunt Allison. She was a particularly mysterious lady, and the note that she attached to the gift was evidence of that mystery. The cryptic note read that, "Don't open until your first disagreement." The lovebirds, although baffled by the note left on the gift, decided to honor it. They were so touched and felt that a challenge had been presented to them. So the competitive nature of the couple made them accept the challenge. Confused and excited, both Brandon and Kathy respected her great-aunt Allison's wishes and put the gift aside until their first serious disagreement. But guess what? The couple didn't have any serious disagreements for years, and the gift remained packed, collecting dust. As time passed, the happy couple was busy enjoying and living their lives. They were doing well, but at the back of their minds, the mystery of the gift still bothered them. Kathy was a bit worried the gift might be something perishable and might not withstand the test of time. She decided to ask her Aunt Allison if the gift contained anything that might be perishable. Kathy's mind was put at ease, and there was nothing in the gift that could expire. But something else was still bothering Allison. Aunt Allison wasn't concerned about the gift that had been unwrapped for nearly 2 years, but her main concerns were that it's not normal that any couple hasn't had a serious disagreement in all that time. Although the love Brandon and Kathy shared with each other was superior to others, and one can say that they were the perfect soulmates, Kathy still wondered if it was reasonable they hadn't fought yet. Kathy, in order to answer all these questions as to how the couple remains disagreement-free all these years, made a Facebook post. This post went viral as people wanted to know the relationship secret that this couple employs to have such a healthy and trouble-free marriage. In that viral post, Kathy openly admitted that the happy couple had plenty of disagreements, fights, and slammed doors. But what's the main reason why the gift has still been unopened despite these disagreements? Well, the answer Kathy wrote is realistic and so inspiring that she may have saved many relationships with that explanation. As both Brandon and Kathy are very highly competitive people, so opening the gift was like giving up and surrendering. As a matter of fact, she wrote that there were occasions in the relationship that both people decided to give up and part ways, but they still never opened the gift and decided to fight through it, which is quite inspirational. Just to clarify a bit further, Kathy admitted that the mystery and the commitment that they made regarding not to open the gift until the pre-decided time made the relationship stronger, better, and longer lasting. Although this all started as an innocent promise, both Brandon and Kathy realized this gift and the commitment they made of not opening it made them stick and fight through their problems instead of just giving up. And amongst all the mystery and intrigue surrounding the unopened gift, both Kathy and Brandon decided to make more solid commitments that would make their relationship much stronger. The Gunns decided to carry on their gene pool and grow their love by having kids. One can imagine that at the back of their minds, an unopened gift with a mysterious box was still present. As the couple grew old and moved forward in life, they tried not to look back. Having kids changed everything for them, solidifying their love for one another and their family. But they always wondered what was in that darned box. Their competitive nature and also love for one another was the binding factor that held Brandon and Kathy together. They were constantly questioning the mystery box that Aunt Allison gave them, and they wondered what was in it and what exactly did the message mean. Later on, during Kathy's post as to why the couple didn't open the box before it was time, Kathy revealed the real reason. This reason actually changed their whole outlook on life as well as their relationship. The real reason was being afraid of failure, or simply that opening the present before the allotted time meant that both Brandon and Kathy failed as a couple. This present turned into some type of symbol for their relationship rather than just a box containing a gift. But finally, as they say, time catches on to every and anything. This is what happened to this couple who waited for over a decade, keeping their promise to each other and living by this commitment of not opening the gift until a serious disagreement. Although the suspense and curiosity of the gift came to an end in May 2016, they didn't fail in their commitment to each other, but as they say, curiosity killed the cat. Well, not really. You can say suspense got the best of them as they couldn't wait anymore. Weddings can be difficult. There's usually a mixture of emotions, some happy and some sad. As they say, people can do weird stuff at weddings. The same happened to the Gunn family as they finally decided to end the suspense. There was a wedding of some friend or family member that sparked the discussion of the great Aunt Allison's mysterious gift. The couple finally decided enough is enough and they couldn't wait any longer and that maybe it's time to finally open the gift. But when doing anything big and substantial, a sane person always thinks and rethinks before taking any big steps. The thought if you're doing the right thing always crosses one's mind and he ponders on the problem too much. The same thing happened to Kathy as she wondered what the metaphorical meaning behind opening this gift is. She wondered if this is worth opening the gift over or should they wait for something big down the line. Another thought crossing Kathy's mind was the repercussions of opening the mystery box. We humans are naturally superstitious, so when something's going right, we like to keep everything around it the same. We think changing something might jinx the good times. The same thoughts were rushing through Kathy's mind. The thought that the box wasn't there, the marriage might have fallen apart. All these silly things, but that is how the human mind operates, so the couple decided to open it together. The day finally arrived, the day when all the suspense and intrigue around this mystery box was revolving. As we know that the build-up to anything is the most exciting or difficult part. After we reach where or achieve what we're set to do, the rest just fades away. Well, Brandon and Kathy opened the gift and the items it contained were pretty basic, like some money, 2 wine glasses, a vase, and some bath items. They couldn't believe that this is all they'd waited for all these years. But wait, there's more. The box also contained 2 notes. Upon reading the notes, the couple was in tears. As both Brandon and Kathy opened and read their respective notes, it was obvious they were in the middle of some sort of conflict. Was it a huge conflict or just a run-of-the-mill kind of thing? We don't know, but still, they opened the box. Kathy's note was pretty straightforward, like make or order something you both like and get a romantic bath ready. It's pretty good advice for a couple fighting with each other, but Brandon's note is what was completely different and unique. Aunt Allison was playing the role of a perfect conflict handler in Brandon's and Kathy's marriage. Her advice to Kathy was pretty spot on as making a dish they both would enjoy along with a romantic bubble bath to suit the nurse would work. But Brandon was instructed simply to get Kathy's favorite flowers and a bottle of wine. As this was the couple's real first fight, Aunt Allison had a great plan to mend things between the couple. Reading these notes, the couple couldn't help but laugh, but at the same time, they were a bit confused. People have superstitious beliefs, hoping that material things hold a key to any type of success, such as the mentality that has been passing on from generation to generation. Kathy was also part of that type of thought process. In her Facebook post that gives a complete in-depth view of this whole situation, she admits that she believed that the gift of Aunt Allison is what held their marriage together. Without it, the couple would have given up and went their separate paths, but she felt that she may have missed something. People always feel comfortable seeking advice from experienced people. People who have been there, done that type of thing provide a source of inspiration and motivation to others. Kathy's great auntie Allison and uncle were also a great source of inspiration for her, as they had been happily married for decades. So receiving a gift from Allison meant that it had some hidden meaning, something that would tell her how to have a long, healthy relationship. And for Kathy, the gift was more meaningful and important. As with material things, they may serve as some sort of symbol, but the work has to be put in. The box might have been very important, but the effort was still needed to make the relationship successful. An emotional Kathy also admitted this in her post. She said that although it was a very nice and thoughtful gesture to get flowers or candy, in the longer run, flowers or candy doesn't help you get through tough times. The key to a healthy relationship is within each and every one of us. Kathy's life story of how she and her husband received a meaningful gift from Aunt Allison is both motivating and life-assuring. That no matter how hard times get, one can get through it by putting in the effort. One can clear all the obstacles through sheer determination and effort. But a thought always came in Kathy's mind that what if something bad happened before they unwrapped the gift? A similar situation happened between Adrian and Vicky. Both were high school sweethearts that split just after 2 years into a relationship. The hardest thing for any couple in a relationship is the illusion that everything's gonna work out no matter what. One person might think that everything is hunky-dory, while the other person might be having doubts about the relationship. This is what happened between Adrian and Vicky. To Adrian's surprise, Vicky ended the relationship seemingly out of nowhere. It was a very difficult time for him, especially with the holidays around the corner. But Vicky thought it was important to part ways on a positive note, so she gave Adrian a present. We all know that spending the holidays without our loved ones is pretty difficult. It's the loneliness that makes things so hard. Adrian was pretty upset over Vicky's actions, and he decided not to open the parting gift she gave him. He was so heartbroken that he thought countless times to throw the gift away, but the mystery of the gift intrigued him, so instead he placed the gift under a Christmas tree. The thing about time is that it heals even the deepest wounds. It has the ability to mend pain that one would think is impossible to heal. The same thing happened with Adrian. As time passed after the breakup with Vicky, he fell deeply in love with another woman named Valerie. They were so in love that Adrian forgot about Vicky and married Valerie. Both of them started a journey together, and it seemed that Vicky was just an afterthought and didn't really matter anymore. The thing about us humans is that we're not only nostalgic but also superstitious. We like to remember what's good and stick to old traditions, no matter how odd they seem. The same thing happened with Adrian, as around Christmas he'd take the gift that Vicky gave him and place it under the tree with all the other gifts. Some would say that it might have become a tradition, but his family thought it was a weird gesture. At the same time, they were curious as to what the gift could be. In the most solid and trustworthy relationships, people keep secrets. It's just a human nature. But sometimes a secret can no longer stay a secret. The same thing happened with Adrian and Valerie, as they'd been married for a long time. Vicky was in the past, and it had been almost 47 years since that painful breakup. So Valerie decided this tradition or superstition has gone on long enough, and it was time to unwrap the gift. The gift that Vicky gave Adrian was a complete mystery. A mystery that sparked not only his interest, but the people around him were also equally curious. So on a chilly day of December 23, 2017, Adrian used the help of Facebook to uncover this mystery. He wrote a very detailed post regarding the gift and its history. The main purpose of the post was to get a hold of Vicky so that they could unwrap this gift together and end this. As they say, there are positives as well as negatives to the different social media platforms we use, but in this story, social media reunited the two ex-lovers. As it turned out, one of Adrian's friends on Facebook was also his high school buddy, and he was also Facebook friends with Vicky. He reconnected both Adrian and Vicky with each other, and they were happy to hear from one another. So much so that when Adrian told Vicky about the gift, she invited both Adrian and his wife to come to visit her home in British Columbia. No matter how much time has passed, it's a common human emotion that we get very excited to see our old crushes or long-lost loves. The fantasy around the one that got away is very exciting. The same situation was with Adrian and Vicky, as he was very excited to meet his high school love after almost 47 years. Adrian was an old man now, but he extremely curious to see what she was like now. There was certainly the mystery surrounding the gift, but at the same time, would his current wife Valerie and old flame Vicky get along? Despite all the excitement and drama surrounding the gift, Adrian was about to see the girl who broke his heart and left him to pick up the pieces. Despite all that, the Pearson family packed their bags and took a flight to Western Canada where Vicky resided. Although Vicky admitted live on TV that she couldn't recall as to what was in the gift, she clearly remembered the exact situation when she gave it to him. The story Vicky shared regarding the gift and the circumstances was pretty heartbreaking. Some people might even hate her after this story, but it is what it is. She recalls she was shopping for a gift for her at the time boyfriend Adrian, going from shop to shop, when out of the blue she ran into another guy she knew named Wolf. They started talking to each other, and in the heat of the moment, Wolf kissed Vicky. But the thing is, as Vicky remembers, she didn't push Wolf away. As a matter of fact, she kissed him back. Obviously, the story Vicky shared must be fairly painful for Adrian, but it had been almost 47 years and has said that time heals even the nastiest of wounds, even heartbreaks. So Vicky obviously felt guilty after kissing Wolf at the mall and decided that it was probably best to end things with Adrian. But she'd put a lot of time and effort into selecting a gift for him, so she felt it was best for him to get his gift. Now what was inside it is the real mystery. They were bound to get a lot of media attention, as the story of Adrian and Vicky became viral on social media. People were also curious to know what was in the gift Vicky gave Adrian. Anyways, with all the cameras pointing towards these two, Adrian asked Vicky to unwrap the gift for the sake of old times. Vicky did the honors and unwrapped this mystery gift box. As she was unwrapping the box, she was flushed as she couldn't believe what was in it. As the build-up to any event in life is the most exciting and excruciating part, the things that follow are just not that exciting. It's normal to get crazy and build up things in our heads. Something of that sort happened with the gift that Vicky gave Adrian. Upon unwrapping, they discovered it was just a book titled Love Is: New Ways to Spot a Certain Feeling by the author named Kim Grove. Kim wrote this book of her own husband. But the mystery surrounding the gift wasn't over yet. As Vicky was unwrapping the gift, it revealed a book named Love Is by Kim Grover. At the time, this gift was given to him when both Adrian and Vicky were teenagers, and this type of book might not be something a teenage boy would be interested in. However, there was a clear and intimate message of love in this book. As Adrian handed the book back to Vicky, she was just casually scrolling through it. All of a sudden, she found a personal note inside the book. With so much nostalgia and old feelings flying around, both Adrian, Vicky, and Valerie were having a very pleasant time. They were sharing old stories, and the note that Vicky wrote to Adrian was somewhat private, so he thought that although his story had been publicized enough, the personal note was something for him. However, he decided that in order to remember this magical chapter in his life, he'd put his book in its blue wrapping paper in a frame. With this, both Adrian and his wife Valerie bid farewell to Vicky and left for their home. But this story's far from over. Thinking about ideas as to how Adrian could immortalize his experience, he came up with a brilliant plan. The story of a 47-year-old gift was inspirational on so many levels. This also gave Adrian quite a bit of stardom, and he wanted to utilize it to get his message across to more and more people. He also received some TV coverage, which made him decide that he'd write a book called The 47-Year-Old Present. He thought it would be inspirational to others like him. Adrian wanted to spread his story to as many people as possible. In this age of digital media, there are a lot of platforms to do so. One such platform is through video footage or a documentary-based film. One of the many hobbies Adrian has is operating a camera and making short films. So Adrian decided that apart from the book, he wanted to make a documentary covering his journey. That would obviously be filmed by Adrian himself. But like all ideas, good or bad, there are always people that stand in the way and resist one's passions or dreams. Some of these people might have valid points to negate the idea, while others simply might be jealous. The thought of Adrian making a documentary about his journey of 47 years until the opening of the gift was inspirational, but it was hugely protested by his own son, who called the idea stupid. Even Vicky, who's the pivotal part of the story, didn't think it was a good idea. A lesson that can be learned from Adrian and Vicky's story is that one should never give up. This lesson is shown through Adrian, who didn't want to give up on his passion. This story played a very important part of Adrian's life. He kept a gift wrapped for 47 whopping years. He certainly had the right to express how and what he felt. Maybe this story could help people like him who have suffered serious heartbreak. So he was right in his own regard to follow what he believed in, even while others around him didn't. Humans aren't known as patient species, being that most of us aren't. What we learned from Adrian and Vicky's story is that the curiosity and excitement of not opening a gift can be unbearable sometimes. Adrian waited a long time to unwrap that gift. A period of 47 years sounds like an eternity to most of us, but he waited that long. But sometimes one cannot wait for a few days, let alone years, to open something he isn't supposed to. This particular story is about a young girl that received a big surprise from her sweet old neighbor named Mr. Watson. The story took place back on the 18th of December 2018. Mr. Watson was a resident of a quiet little community in Wales, Cardiff. The young girl had the surprise of her life when she found out that the particular gift she received from Mr. Watson was tucked away especially for her. The circumstances of her getting that present were very exciting. Before we start our story, it's critical to know as to what Mr. Watson's profession was before he eventually retired. Well, he was a salvage diver. In simple words, he used to dive into the deep sea to recover different types of interesting things. Most of the things he recovered were parts of an old ship, some of them from a wreckage that happened ages ago. In short, Mr. Watson was a true adventurer. Here it's important to understand the mindset of an adventurous outdoorsman. It's very hard to keep them occupied in one place for extended periods of time. It's just in their blood to be out and about. Mr. Watson fitted the profile of a true outdoorsman. His vast interests and hobbies included being a fan of classical music and opera, an avid metal detectorist, an election canvasser, and a great accordion player. He loved to just indulge himself in his hobbies, so much so that he wouldn't feel the need to talk to anyone. But like every great happy story, there's a tragedy that befalls it. Mr. Watson was a happily married man. He and his wife shared a great life together, and when she passed away, her death left a big hole in Watson's life as he didn't feel like doing any of the hobbies he enjoyed anymore. But he felt that his wife would want him to be happy and move on with his life, so he took on an adventurous hobby, parachute jumping. He claims that he enjoys parachute jumping so much that he feels like an eagle soaring through the sky. Mr. Watson was enjoying his hobby of parachute jumping and was doing things at the old age of 85 that most of the young people nowadays would be scared to do. He was a true daredevil, and at 85 he proved it. What he did was not only dangerous but required a lot of courage. He climbed on top of a moving airplane and got onto one of its wings while the plane was still in mid-air. He stood on the plane and enjoyed the rush of adrenaline. Mr. Watson's next-door neighbors were the happily married couple named Owen and Caroline Williams. They were a young couple and starting out in their lives. As with young people, you'd obviously look to find friends your own age. But that wasn't the case with the Williams. They were so fascinated by Mr. Watson's daredevil experiences that they couldn't wait to know more about this man. They waited for Mr. Watson to get back when he was away on his adventures so that they could hear more crazy stories. Owen and Caroline had a daughter named Katie, and they moved into the neighborhood where Mr. Watson lived in 2014. One day after moving in, they met the adventurous Mr. Watson. As it was hard to keep Ken in his house, the day the couple met him, he was outside on a ladder in his overalls. As the couple heard large sounds, they went outside and saw Mr. Watson. It was there they introduced themselves to him, and even their dog loved him as he gave her a biscuit. He was quite the character. Although Mr. Watson was such a likable personality that everybody loved him, the dog that the Williams had was one of his biggest fans right after their first meeting. But the biggest fan of all was the Williams' daughter Katie. But the feeling wasn't one way. Every time Mr. Watson saw baby Katie, his eyes would light up. He absolutely adored the child. It was like they understood each other even when Katie was just a baby. It was a very special bond. People with grandkids know the joy they bring. Just to see them grow up is a privilege only a few grandparents enjoy. Although Mr. Watson and Katie weren't actually related, the bond they shared was really something special. Both Ken and Katie spent a large time together enjoying each other's company. It was like Mr. Watson had forgotten about all the worries in the world. He even said that he wishes he could live to be 100 so he could see baby Katie grow up. But as they say, death is inevitable and everyone has to die sometime. Just after 4 magical years of the Williams and Mr. Watson meeting, he passed away, leaving a big hole in the Williams' lives, and especially Katie, who had taken a great liking to him. Mr. Watson, despite being old, was such a positive influence to the Williams household that they were devastated by his death. His stories and adventures gave such motivation to all around him that they actually felt like they were living it. But even after Mr. Watson's death, there was still more to come from this amazing old man. After he passed, Ian, who's Mr. Watson's son, was going through his stuff when all of a sudden, he found a big surprise for the Williams. The couple realized this gift was a way that they could celebrate the life of Mr. Watson even after he was gone. There were actually 14 surprises that Mr. Watson left the couple and Katie. Upon his death, Mr. Watson's son Ian came to his house to sort things out. This is a norm that every grieving family has to go through after the death of a loved one. But what was in Mr. Watson's house was nowhere near normal as standard. In the attic of his house, buried deep behind boxes and dust, was a large sack that contained something. The sack had clear instructions for his son regarding the package and that it has to be delivered immediately to the Williamses. But the surprise would only come when the neighbors opened the sack. Mr. Watson's son Ian followed his deceased father's instructions closely. He found a letter inside the sack that gave him clear instructions that he was not to open this package and hand it to the neighbors right away. Ian went to the Williams' house that same night and rang the doorbell. Obviously, the Williams were stunned to see the contents of the sack. They couldn't believe that the sack was filled to the brim with different types of gifts. This especially made Katie smile. The Williams were obviously surprised with all these presents and didn't know what to think or do in this particular situation. There was a certain curiosity as to what the gifts were, but it was for their daughter Katie and the bond she shared with Mr. Watson. So they did a very thoughtful thing. They knew these gifts were for Katie and Mr. Watson wanted her to have all of them. But Katie was only 2 at the time of Mr. Watson's death, so they decided to give one present out of the sack on Katie's birthday each year. In this way, she'll always remember Mr. Watson and cherish his memories. The gesture of leaving gifts for Katie by Mr. Watson was way more than just for the material side of things. It was a clear expression of the love and care that Mr. Watson felt for the little girl as if she was his own granddaughter. So when Owen brought in the gifts that Ian gave them, everyone was in tears at the gesture. No one knows whether Mr. Watson bought these gifts for over a period of 2 years or just at the end of his life. Since the sad loss of Mr. Watson, the Williams family has always cherished his memory. They even opened one gift out of the 14, which was a children's book called Christmas Eve by the Mellops by author Tommy Ungerer. It's a story about 4 brothers who are very close to each other. They go on an adventure to find a Christmas tree that will make their Christmas special. Katie would certainly love this story, even when she grows old, and cherish it. This story about the friendship between a sweet adventurous old man and a young girl is so inspirational that it brings tears to anyone who listens. It's a feel-good story that's needed at this time in our lives. Even Mr. Watson's daughter, who knew about his father's love for this little kid, admits that one day she'd share the story of her father with the whole world, so they can know about his generosity. She also sends gifts to Katie on her birthdays. The story of Mr. Watson and his adventures is very motivational. Love knows no limits, and no matter how much time passes, you can always hold on to sweet memories. Little Katie might have been too young when Mr. Watson passed away, but the presents he left her are more than enough to keep his memory alive. And with the help of Katie's parents, who also adored Mr. Watson, one can say the legacy of Mr. Watson will live on.